Club. Good morning to you, 6 minutes past 7. You're with me, Miriam Angel, Salim Barisa, and Emmanuel Gona. And in studio, we do have a guest from the Communication Authority of Kenya. There's a lot to talk about, but before that, I know there are a lot of people who are listening in to us. Nenda pale social media at Swahili Pot FM on Facebook, X, and Instagram as well. But also, you can listen to us on the website at www.swahilipotfm.co.ke.
Pale Facebook I can see Jerusha Kembenya pale anasema from Imara niko tuned, good morning. We have Kalu the Coastal Kid anasema good morning. Beka Wanje Mwatoya anasema tuned in. Pastri Salim anasema Makomboani iko locked sana na gotia team pamoja kama ndizi. We have Hussein Kadi pia anasema good morning from Likoni, ujamaa sokoni na wakilisha chama kubwa team pamoja kama ndizi.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, the Communication Authority has been in existence for 25 years, if I'm not wrong, right? 25 years. And we have seen its transformation from the Communication Commission of Kenya, that is CCK, to Communication Authority. And one would ask, what is their role? Okay, so its role, first of all, it acts as the regulatory body for the information and communication technology in Kenya. It oversees and licenses all communication systems and services. It manages the country's frequency spectrum and numbering resources. I got to learn about this, by the way. So much that I didn't know. And then it protects consumer rights within the communication environment. I loved this because when we say consumer rights, remember how at times you're on a particular... You're using either Safaricom or Airtel, and you feel like the charges are extreme. Unashanga credit Airtel yangu imeenda wapi, imeisha wapi. It's their role to protect you. And it also ensures fair competition within the industry. Now, one of its mandate is also to ensure digital access for all, that every Kenyan is able to access some form of digital service. And that is why we have Engineer Edwin Ombega in studio. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes. So when it comes to ensuring that Kenyans have digital access, how has the Communication Authority achieved this?
Okay.
Or how is the authority achieving this?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Actually, as you said, the authority has been existent for almost 25 years. We
Yeah.
should be having our celebration sooner. And over time, there are a lot of measures we've put in place, largely from the way we regulate the sector, being the sector regulator. To start it off, when we license, for example, a mobile network operator who is considered to have an NFP Tier 1 license and they have access to national spectrum, then we give them some obligations whereby then they're required to cover certain sub-locations within a specific period of time, and they just don't choose where they want to go. Of course, they will have that leverage, but then we also ensure they consider some parts of the country through what we call obligations that we put on them. Then the Act created a fund, where the Universal Service Fund, where all licensees who are providing regulated services, which are under the purview of CA, you can name it postal and courier, telecommunications, mobile services, ICT, internet access, as well as broadcasting, they pay a levy to us, which is about 0.5% of their turnover. And from this levy, then you're able to design programs, some of which we will discuss later on, targeted at underserved and unserved communities across the country by way of applying smart subsidies. Smart subsidies are incentives we offer to the operators, so that they're able to provide services in these hard-to-serve areas where, based on the economics, population levels, then they're able to plug that revenue deficit that they would have, and then in that way make the project sustainable, and service provisioning is able to go beyond the period of the project. So in that case, that is how we were able to sort out the access gaps that are there. These are areas which largely don't have communication services, and then we plan projects, some of which we were visiting this week. And even in this area, we've covered some.
Okay. So I want to take us back.
Okay.
Back then, we used to have booths that Salim remembers very well. Salim, just how was it back then with the booths?
Booths walikuwa kitambo ulikuwa unatumia shilingi. Yo tingili nasikia kanalia uko ndani, so unaweka coins hapo shilingi kama 5 unapiga, but pia hii reverse call yenye na nini size. You used to have reverse calls kwa booth.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yani nilikuwa nadhani reverse call is a thing now.
Na unajua Salim anaongea kana kwamba alikuwa akitumia sana hiyo.
Yeah, by there I used it. Used it. Yeah, unapiga operator, anashika from the other end, unaambia nataka so and so, and then ana connect. And then
you drop the call on the other side.
Yeah, tunaongea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So how are we able to move from that to now the fact that everybody has a mobile phone and we're able to communicate easily with ease?
All right. When it comes to everyone having access to ICTs, there are two concepts involved. One is the universal access, where services are provided on a shared basis. In this case now, like a telephone booth. And even more recently, when we went wireless communications, we had Simu ya Jamii. It's just in ways that if you don't have a phone, there is a place where you can go and make calls. And be able to communicate with whoever you want. Then now there's the concept of universal service, which is targeted at individuals, at household level. And that is the space we are in currently, because largely based on the economics, mobile phones have become so accessible in terms of price. Even the pricing to access these services have become a lot affordable than they were previously. Then we need to provide this service across the board, because you'd find people have the phones, but you might find wherever they are, they don't have the service coverage. So then it behooves us then to go out there and design programs which are able to provide these services to where Kenyans need them. Because a majority of Kenyans have now own phones. So Simu ya Jamii, I think it died a natural death. Then from then on now, what do we do then? Because people have these gadgets and they need to access the services. That's when you design these projects where we expand the mobile reach by, constructing towers across the country in areas which are needed, so that Kenyans can be able to access the services from wherever they are. So now that brings the concept of universal service, which actually targets individuals where they are, and also a household at household level. And it's not on a shared basis where you'd have a particular point where people would, probably go there and be able to make calls. So that's where we are in right now. And it has been aided a lot by technology, because previously when you had fixed wireline, then it would be a lot expensive to have it on everybody's home. That's why shared services were a lot embraced. But in this case now, when you go wireless, then you realize one BTS can be able to serve many people, thousands of them. So it's the only way now we can ensure that everybody has this access, by ensuring all geographical regions and where people stay, they're able to have this service at good quality levels, that they can communicate and do whatever they need to do online.
Okay. So I want to bring you back to the coastal region, because yesterday we were in the Communication Authority together with journalists. Were in Kaloleni, and the day after there was a visit in Kilifi County, right? Now you see that there are towers, okay, and that's now the masts. Okay.
Yes.
What is the purpose of that, and its impact in the community?
Well, as you can agree with me, right now, if you don't have a phone, you would not be able to achieve a lot, in terms of communicating or even participating in the larger economy of this country. You may not be able to appreciate the opportunities that may come your way, largely because you'd feel a bit handicapped, and even recently now that data access has become sort of like an everyday thing. A lot happens in the online space. There are a lot of applications that have come that have made our work easier. Then in that case, then it comes out that access to information actually is becoming like a basic right now, like security and health and education. That's why then we go out to ensure that all corners of this country, they're able to access we'll start with the priority areas. These are areas which are highly populated, and thus then the impact is felt almost immediately, largely based on with one mast you're able to access many people who are there. They're able to use these services. Now, what it entails largely is you have to do an access gap study across the country and see these, identify these sublocations or geographies where there is no coverage of mobile, or there's poor coverage of mobile. Now, once you identify them, you're also supposed to, assess the level of population that is in there. Then you start with the, those ones which are highly populous, as you move on to the ones which have, fewer numbers of people staying there. Then once you're able to do that, then you do a financial model to see if this service is provided at what will it cost to provide that service in terms of infrastructure, the spectrum, and also maintenance of this. And also looking at the population there, you're able to assess what is the level of uptake, of adoption of this technology. With that, you come up with the penetration and you establish the demand for these services. Then you're able to set up your subsidy levels. And then now you go to the market and find partners who who have this service already, largely licenses of the authority. The telecom operators, Telkom Kenya, Airtel, Safaricom. Then now you partner with these guys to go and do mobile infrastructure, the likes of even the tower companies which are there. They do the mobile infrastructure and they provide the service. Now, when the service comes live, then now the residents are able to use these services, and then now that's when the impact starts being felt in terms of how they appreciate technology. There's a lot you can do when you have access to internet, let's say, for example, or even the ability to make calls from wherever you are. We've seen areas which were previously challenged with insecurity. Now they're able to communicate and address these concerns better, because then you can call the police, you can call your local chief and tell them this is happening at this particular point, and they're able to address that. In terms of also health, people are able to discover ways of how to be healthy, and even now information is passed to them with a lot of ease. In case of an outbreak, this information from our health authorities gets to them because they are able to access it, through their various platforms and how they communicate. Largely also in terms of participation in the economy, you find goods are able to be moved a lot easily, because you just need to make a phone call to identify the goods you need from a particular supplier, and then they'll put them in a in a courier service like a matatu, or be it a border in other areas, and goods come to you, and you find yourself being able to pay with a lot of ease, because you'd use now the online or mobile money platforms that are there, and make these payments. So in a way, it actually unlocks a lot of potential in these rural areas, and even students are able to access education material across the board, and you get to learn a lot of things online. Like we keep joking, like we have one of our celebrated athletes who learned a skill through YouTube. That's Diego. So you can imagine if that is what somebody living in a village in Kondoni, in Kilifi, is able to see that, then he will actually realize that it's boundless. I don't need to be next to let's say, for example, a stadium or a coach for me to learn a skill, a particular sport. Then they're able to access this tutorials on YouTube or other applications online, and you'll be able to learn a skill that can actually eventually help them in life.
Okay.
And by this, now they're able to take advantage of their talents, grow them, even market them, and in one way or another improve their standard of living.
All right.
Yeah.
Unaweza sema pengine kufikia sahii tumepiga hatua kiasi gani, kwa sababu ndio tulianzia mahali kwa wakati hizo simu za jamii zikipotelea hivyo. So hatua yenye tumepiga kufikia sasa, especially ukiangalia maeneo yetu ya pwani, kwa sababu kuna muda ukitembea huko utapata simu ni kama haifanyi kabisa, unakuonekana kwamba wewe sasa na yule mwenye hana hakuna tofauti. So sahii utasema ni hatua gani ambayo imepigwa kufikia sasa?
Hapo ni kweli, hapo previously actually hata ile eneo ya tuseme ya ardhi Kenya mzima ilikuwa covered na network was way low, tuseme kama 17%. That was in 2016 there, according to the gap study we did. Then we did another gap study in 2021, and the geographical coverage had improved to 56%. Now that tells you many Kenyans much as we've covered many Kenyans from around 78% in 2017 to now we boast of about 96.4% coverage. Many Kenyans stay in very high populous areas, and a larger section of the land, we have fewer Kenyans staying there. Now, when you come to coastal here, back then we had a number of sublocations that were not really covered, but it has really improved with terms of the interventions. That's why you find now we have even Mombasa, Kilifi, Kwale. We don't have many projects there because they're highly populous. But then you find us going to places like Lamu, yeah, which is not highly populated, or even in those islands of Kiwayu, Kizingitini, CU. That's where we have Pate, yeah. That's where we have projects right now. Now, when the places are highly populous, kuna watu wengi, then you find even it's easy for operators to go there without much prompting, because and as you rightfully said, watu wengi wako na masimu, so mali wanatafuta ni mali watapata hiyo network, so they will settle there where there's network, and you find then with a lot of people, then it becomes simpler to provide these services because one must serve many people, but when there are fewer people, it becomes so expensive to use it. So you find in Mombasa, Kilifi, and Kwale areas, the coverage is really improved, a lot improved, and we can almost say it's over 90% of the population in those places, they access now ICTs, and by that I mean they're able to make calls and also access fast internet. But now we moved to areas like Tana River, where we did about 4 projects in phase 2, yeah, Odoan, Kamaguru, Titila, and Walesorea sub-location. Now we're going to Lamu and other places of this country, some which you consider them remote and sparsely populated. That's the target, as we've seen, because areas which are more urbanized, then people are clustered together,
yeah,
and it's a lot easier to provide mobile service.
Mhandisi,
yes.
niwapongeze kwa juhudi ambazo mmefanya. Tumetoka mbali.
Asante.
Na mna miaka 25, lakini swali langu linakuja hivi.
Yeah.
Mi natoka baba anatoka kijiji fulani kinaitwa Masalani, Tana River.
Okay.
Mama anatoka kijiji fulani Lamu, karibu na Kipini hapo. Changamoto ambayo kwamba wako nayo wao kwa sasa, because kuna mazao mengi ambayo kwamba yanatoka Tana River, na it's good thing umesema hiyo story ya accessibility, mtu anaweza kapiga simu akafanya nini, but still paka saa hizi tukizungumzia vitu ambavyo kwamba vimebadilika, until now kuna watu huko wana find it hard, wanaamini kutumia hii smartphone is a disaster kwao.
Okay.
Just because nikiwa na smartphone, accessibility ya ni network na internet ni issue.
Okay.
This is real time kwa sababu niko na story na hao watu, so wanaamini kutumia
simu ni bala
kabambe, na hata hiyo kabambe kuna sehemu lazima uende. So for how long hao watu wa huko which wanatu provide sisi na maembe and pojo
matunda,
you see,
okay,
wao ndo wanatulisha sisi wenye tuko huku na accessibility ya 90%. So hao watu watachukua muda gani? 25 years now. So tuongezee miaka mingapi hapo?
Haitafika 25 years as nilisema hapo.
Yani nasema saizi tuko 25 kama
25 years.
CA.
Okay, kama CA. Yeah. Now when I started I started by saying that in 2016 we had covered about 78% of the population. But as of 2021 we had done 96.6% of the population. So you can see we are remaining with about 3.4% of the population. Now you realize this 3.4% of the population, they don't stay in areas which are highly popular, like highly densely populated areas. Wako area uko mashinani, probably in remote areas of the country. That is where a bulk of them they would reside. So you find as you get to those places, the cost of service provision is a lot higher, and there are areas which the fund is still there. We haven't stopped doing this. So kama tujakufikia tunakuja. Yeah. Kama tujakufikia tunakuja.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we like saying. And you've seen we've started with phase 1. Maybe I didn't mention this. We started rolling out these projects in 2017, where we did phase 1 and we did about 78 sub-location. Then we came with phase 2 in 2021. where we did about, still ongoing, about 101 sublocations. We're about 70% complete. And then you have phase 3 where we're covering 68 sublocations. And we've covered about 16 of them. And now we have phase 4, which we are still designing and should be rolled out soon. We target about 303 sublocations. So as you see, we had phase 1 where we covered the likes of Mkondoni, Mwangea, Milore, Ndugumnani in Kilifi County. Okay. Kwale, we were in about 6, Busi, Vigurungani, Kilimangodo, those sublocations were covered in phase 1. And then we are also moving now to, as I mentioned, we have phase 3 in Lamu, where we have CU, Kizingitini, Kiwayu, and those places. So, and also we have phase 4 where we have other sublocations to cover. So largely you find sometimes even there is provision of services, but people shy away, either because they lack the skills to use these services. Also, some may have the coverage, but they don't have what we call the access devices, like hiyo simu umesema. Kuna mwingine anatumia bado kabambe, which we are trying to, it's likely being phased out because we want people to use smartphones, because from there, then you're able to achieve a lot. You can attend a class on your phone, you can, access goods and services by visually seeing them, some mtu atakutumia picha utaiona and what have you. So in that sense, we also have to encourage use. There's a lot of cybercrime that is happening in this space, which is, we call it the internet space, the webosphere. And we have a cybersecurity unit, which actually, by and large, creates awareness. Trains you how you can be safe online, even for kids and other people. Then they can be able to use these technologies, because you realize ukiingia kwa simu alafu tuseme kama uko na vijana hapo umewapatia pin yako ya M-Pesa, and then sometime umesahau simu hapo, alafu wakakuwa korofi, wakaenda wakachukua simu waka withdraw pesa kutoka pale. Yes. Next time you'll be like,
it's not trustworthy.
It's making me lose money,
Yeah.
But because you just don't know how to stay safe. For example, like a pin is a personal, secret.
Yes.
You don't share it with anyone else. So when we create this awareness, then people are able to use technology with confidence. And even when you have, in one way or another, been maligned online, or you found your, like credit card has been compromised, then we have a case that where you're able to report this, incidences, and you can be able to get restoration or the matter being resolved. So in a way, like you have the confidence to use these services. That's why we come up with a whole aspect of trying to train you how to use it, and also protect you when you're online and you face some of these challenges.
All right, then.
Sorry, it was a lot mouthful.
It's okay. No worries. We do have, let's listen into one of our listeners here, see if it's a question so that you may respond. We are speaking to Engineer Edwin Ombega. He is the Senior Officer Project Development at Communication Authority of Kenya. And we're talking about how to achieve digital access to all Kenyans. What question do you have? Before we went on a break, there was a question from one of our listeners, Charles. I'm going to play it again and then get back to it.
Good morning, Breakfast Club. Naitwa Charles kutoka hapa Bamburi. And I have the question for the CAK representative. What is the commission doing to safeguard the mental space? There's been so many conversation about the mental health space, and I've just heard him saying that they're trying to phase out the kabambes, but a new trend abroad suggests that a lot more people are adopting something they call dumb phones, which are loosely translated to kabambes, for their mental well-being. What's the commission doing to safeguard the community's mental health?
All right, Edwin.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very valid question. And maybe to say the record straight, we're not really facing out kabambe. It's just the trend we see across the markets that many people are using smartphones. And we are encouraging the use of smartphones as well, largely based on the networks that are there. Yeah. You see kabambe is largely worked with 2G. And now we have moved to 3G, we are even in 5G. So we have 4G there as well. And Kabambis may not allow you to use some of these recent technologies where a lot of activities are happening right now, especially with internet access. And rightfully so, as the speaker has said, then there are also people who are shutting the blue screen, right? Exposure to it probably is not mentally sound for some. That's why we have consumer education as part of our programming at the authority, where we allow or we train users on safe usage of technology. Even children, for say you have the child online protection, how children can be safer online, and largely not to discourage them from using tech, but actually showing them that these things are good and this is how you need to use them. And largely they're also the flip side. We've seen cases of like impersonation online, which will discourage many people, and a lot of fraud happening in these spaces. But largely it's not to say that tech is all that. Tech is really good whenever you see how it has helped us. Right now you can hike a ride with Uber from your app, made a lot of things easier. He'll come locate you where you are, even if they're it's made life easier. And we have a lot of online sharing platforms where it's also created an economy. We have a lot of YouTubers creating content on IG. It's a space of influencing right now, and it has really sort of democratized who can reach people. It's not only a select few people. It's, so long as you have content that is interesting, people will find people watching. So it has created that space and an economy that people are consuming information from there. I wouldn't.
But so you're saying when you do consumer education, you do you educate people on how to effectively use technology as well. And do you also talk about the impact of it? And I think that's what Charles is asking when it comes to mental health. That's also there. Is that there in the consumer education program?
Largely, or even a bit of mention, especially when too much exposure to the blue screen. What is good for a particular age of people? How much would they want to access, for example, a computer before it starts getting into their nerves? What brightness or what levels of settings should you put? And even phones have actually adopted that, where you find there's a night mode. Nowadays there's D&D, which is a lot popular with people, and largely because we don't want to become slaves of technology. But at the same time we need to function so that we can get to put it we can't get to use it to something in a way that helps us. So those are things that we actually articulate in most of our forums, where I would meet probably in Kikao Kiku, or even where we were early in the day. I'm sure there was a presentation on early in the week on consumer education and awareness and what we do in that space.
Okay. So there are areas, I experience this a lot when I go back home. So there are areas where you go to and still there's no signal. Okay. So, and you've talked about the geographical area. So two-part question, because there's what determines if a location is suitable for that kind of setup. But then also, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing in setting up this?
Thank you so much. There are challenges, especially when you go and do projects in remote areas. And sparsely populated areas where probably the infrastructure that is coming for the first time in terms of a public utility is a telecommunication tower. Challenges of water, road infrastructure is not as good. Weather, harsh weather conditions, like whenever we have long rains, you see roads being cut off. So you can imagine if there are logistics to transport equipment to those areas, it becomes a challenge to do projects there. Then you'll have to wait for the either rains to subside down, and then you can be able to access. So those are challenges. And in some communities also, you'd find they would resist, towers before certain few things are done. They would say, before you erect this tower, probably give us a borehole, or give us a classroom, for example. Kit our school or our health center. So those are things we've experienced, and you cannot ignore them. because you need these people to accept and embrace your project. So in a way, we try and educate them more, so they understand the essence of this project and what our limitations are in terms of a social uplift project. But also we go beyond that and do some CSR in needy cases, where we would probably do a borehole there just to pacify the community and make and ensure that before they can make a call, they also have water. Yeah. So it's something that we do on extremely needy areas where we feel like we can assist the communities for them to embrace the project and actually move along with us. Because community resistance is something we've seen in particular section of the areas of the country. Then we have insecurity in larger in some areas, where we have community conflicts, which will affect projects during that time. Or even we've seen insurgents where telecommunication infrastructure is brought down, as you've seen in the news. So these are challenges that we face, but we shouldn't be deterred, because then we have a mandate as an organization that we need to implement, and we feel like it's still necessary for people to access technology. So we try and mitigate this by coming with more resilient designs, trying to locate this infrastructure in areas where it's ease of security provision, and even when in case there are attacks, then there can be a response which will ensure that the infrastructure is not really destroyed, but save much of it by having to have guarding in this infrastructure. Thank you.
Mhandisi, kuna siku hapa palikuwa na tech guru alikuja hapa na akazungumza kwamba masuala ya internet, mtandao, kwamba siku za baadaye, na alisema si mbali sana, hata miaka 5 hapa, akasema kwamba masuala ya mtandao yatakuwa yanahamia maeneo ya vijijini, as in rural areas. Itakuwa efficient sana huko. Itakuwa inafanya kazi bila tashwishi ya aina yoyote ile kuliko huku mjini. Sasa swali langu linakuja hapo. Miriam, how did that is
how tenable?
Yes. How tenable is that?
How tenable is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Probably one thing I didn't mention is that when we do projects in rural areas, we do them to the standard that is seen in the urban areas. What do I mean by this? I mean that if you're able to access 4G here of a particular quality, you should be able to access that in a village in Turkana, for example. You should access that same level of quality, because the quality standards that we apply are across the board. Across the board. So you find probably with capacity requirements in highly populous areas, you'd find services could even be more enjoyable in the rural areas. And then a lot of investment is still being pumped in the urban areas, because as a regulator, then you don't allow services to go down to a level where they become unusable. Remember, at the end of the day, we are also interested in the experience as a user you have. So and also with the future of work, now you're seeing a lot of people working online, working from home, and with that means then where you are, jobs are becoming area agnostic, you can say. Like, you don't need to be in a particular area for you to be seen to be working. So, and rural areas provide us a lot of opportunity in terms of, as you're talking about mental health issues, congestion in the cities, pollution probably, and somebody would want to go to a place where it's a lot cleaner air, there's availability of land to do a few things here and there, and they find that to be workable. And the beauty about it is that when they can be able to access internet, for example, broadband internet at the rural areas, and they're they work online, they develop content online, or rather they self-employed or in that matter, then you find it's more attractive, largely not based on technology per se, but also on other issues that surround us as human beings, and the quest to try and be sane out of a chaotic city and sort of view. And there are more technologies that are coming that are able to serve other places in this jurisdiction, which we don't stifle them, we allow them to thrive, so that the ultimate user of this thing, who is the common mwananchi, is able to get what he's looking for when it comes to accessing internet.
Okay.
Thank you.
I love the fact that ukiongea unaongelea stories za sublocation iko kule chini kabisa mashinani.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lakini pia tunapoangalia watu wengi waliokule vijijini ni low income, watu wa low income. Sasa tukiangalia the digital access na cost ya devices na data, nyinyi hapo mnaingilia wapi?
Hapo ni kweli, because then you provide services to, like we say now, 97% of Kenyans are covered.
Yeah.
96.4. And then you find out the usage of these services is not commensurate, probably. And this data around probably 40% we use internet. So you're like, okay, there's a big space. Then there are those barriers which exist, and you've highlighted some of them. You can have the supply of internet, but then there's no demand from you, largely because you're disenfranchised by the costs of this access, or it's the speed that you're getting this service at, or you just don't have the skills to access and make use of the internet. Yeah. So those are barriers that we call them demand side barriers, where the service is provided, but then on this other side, the user is not empowered to use that service. Those are areas that concern us as the universal service, because you can't have universal service if it's just provision of service and nobody's using it. Okay. So then you'll have to design programs where, like local assembly of government-wide assembly of access devices, to bring the cost down, or even tax breaks to bring the cost down. Largely, you see the cost of mobile phone has progressively gone lower over time. Yeah, right now you can get a smartphone for as little as 1,000 shillings. Yeah, and then you pay.
There is?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you pay upfront 1,000 shillings. Then you pay kidogo kidogo.
Oh, you said nalipa pole pole.
Yeah.
Ni gani hiyo 1,000?
You can do that. You can do that. So, in a way, it's able to mitigate that upfront cost you are likely to pay, because very few guys would probably raise 8,000, 6,000 to buy a phone. Yeah. But they can, afford 1,000 and they start using it. And the more you use it, probably you discover a way of making money online, and he will have, the income to continue using it. So those are areas which will concern ourselves, and we actually do digital skilling. We did a pilot in North Hor. Yeah, that was in Marsabit County, where we had a digitrack going around, and we were providing skills to the community there in partnerships with Tech for All, Huawei, and Safaricom, who was the project implementer in those areas. So we had like 2 weeks there where people would come to the track, and they will, some would get exposure to the smartphone for the first time.
Yes.
And after that, you would see how it has really changed their mentality towards to technology. And smartphones, they could do a few things here. They could be able to take a photo and share on WhatsApp. And something important which actually saw is that even ladies there would be able to get recipes from YouTube and other places. So in a way, they find value because the content that is online there is relevant to them. Yeah.
Okay, so pretty much it's not just a matter of setting up or building the towers, but then you also have to educate the residents, right, in how to use that service. I like that, because then you're not just seeing a mast in your area and wondering what is this for. Now there's a report here from GSMA. That is a non-profit industry organization that represents the interest of mobile network operators worldwide. So in the report, it says that driving digital transformation of the economy in Kenya projects that Kenya's digital economy will contribute 662 billion shillings to GDP by 2028. And so how much is the digital economy contributing to Kenya's economy currently? What percentage?
I think last I was seeing the stats would be about 10 to 20%, which is growing. Yeah.
Okay. What would make us achieve this, the Vision 2028, where the digital economy contributes 662 billion to Kenya's GDP? Yeah.
Thank you so much. The ICT policy talks a lot about transforming our country to a digital ecosystem where the digital economy being given a lot of prominence through that policy. And that's why you see projects like the digital superhighway trying to bring fast internet to homes and institutions across the country, so that we can be able to invest in computing power that even make us a net export of technology. Be able to nurture innovations and also talent. And right now you see there's a lot of gig work happening around, that people would get work through platforms like Upwork and the likes, and they would do some jobs there, earn money, and this is an avenue that we've realized that actually would help many Kenyans be gainfully employed. So you have to enhance that in terms of skill provisioning and also provision of the fast internet, so people can be able to appreciate this. I wouldn't be surprised that it will contribute that much, because largely we see a lot is happening online, in the online space. Something probably e-commerce, for example. It's an area that Kenyans are embracing every other day. Many platforms are there. People are ordering goods online and get delivered to them. Places. People are becoming a lot busier. Like going to shop, it's no longer a luxury as we used to, but it's becoming sort of a burdensome. So people would prefer to shop online and get things delivered at their comfort, or even wherever they are. You could be ordering something from Nairobi to Mombasa, or if you're in Nairobi, ordering something from Mombasa to that, like that. So we're seeing a lot of economic activities moving to the digital space. So its contribution to the society and even the GDP of this country will really rise exponentially. And now once the benefits start trickling in, and you find you have Kenyans are about 80% literate. So if we can get even the usage to spike to probably 80-90% people are engaging online, I think it will even surpass that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we have been speaking to Engineer Edwin Ombega. He's a senior officer and project development manager with Communication Authority of Kenya. Now, I want to let you go back. Now, last question. What do you envision when it comes to Kenya, our country, in the future? How would it look like if everything that the Universal Service Fund stands for is implemented?
It's a very good question, and it's a vision that we all carry as an authority, where we say digital access for all. I'd like to see a Kenya where, regardless of where you are, you're able to realize your potential. Largely, you're not limited by what you cannot access, but because you can access everything, even at the palm of your hand, at the comfort of your home. And this is very doable when we embrace technology, which is a key driver in many aspects of our lives currently. Thus, where kids from Mandera and Nairobi, they don't have much of a divide in the things that they are able to experience, because digital access has been able to remove that gap that would exist naturally, where people in probably well-developed areas are able to access a lot and know a lot, but even people in rural areas should be able to have that level of access. So that way we'll have a more cohesive nation, and regardless of where you are, you're able to realize your potential.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for making time. You're with me, Miriam Angel, Salim Barisa, and Emmanuel Gona.